Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now today let's talk some My Hero Academia. Let's cover a small little topic in My Hero Academia and just have a discussion about it. Now this video is intended for pretty much anime only viewers or manga readers who don't really look at the volume notes that come out with the My Hero Academia volumes. Specifically, if you are a fan who goes in and reads all the extra material that pops up in the My Hero Academia volumes, this might be a bit of information you're already aware of. We're just ultimately going to be talking about it and just pretty much introducing it to anyone else who is kind of curious about what's going on. Now, as you see in the title of the video, it's going to be covering the Nomu that went after Midoriya at the end of the Stain fight. For anime only viewers, the thing is, it's hard to say whether or not this is going to be spoilers for you, because for manga readers, we got it, and it wasn't anything that was actually told in the manga storyline. It was actually just something that was told to us directly by the author. So this is a little bit of information that ultimately isn't appearing in the story, but was told to the fans out of sequence. So whether or not you think that's too spoilery for you, you can get out of this video. But otherwise, you're pretty much on even playing field with the manga readers, even though the manga is so far ahead, because this is a plot point that hasn't really been addressed as of yet. So here's the thing that happened with the Nomu that went after Midoriya. So when you have that sequence playing out, the Nomu comes and it grabs Midoriya and it flies off with him. Now, at first glance, it's like, alright, yeah, that's whatever, a villain going after the main character. Oh man, oh look, Izuku's up in the air, oh no, what's gonna happen? You know, a casual reader or any reader really would just be thinking like, yeah, you know, that makes sense, it's plot. Like, they just wanted to put Izuku in a bad situation, give Stain an opportunity to just kind of shine for a little bit, to get just his full message across. But as it turned out, that wasn't the case. It wasn't so simple. It wasn't simply narrative convenience. It wasn't simply the plot doing its thing. In the volume that featured the end of the Stain fight and also featured the introduction of All For One, the author gave us a small note, specifically this page, titled, "The Why Did the Winged Nomu Single Out Midoriya Izuku Out of the Whole Crowd to Fly Off With? Here's Something of an Oblique Hint" corner. And after that, he gave us this picture, also promising to tell us the details of this hint later on in the story. We haven't gotten that yet in the manga. That's something that doesn't really spoil anything for you guys, but it's just a very interesting hint. Now you may be wondering, who is this character? Like, do you recognize him? Well, turns out he's the character that was featured very early on in My Hero Academia. He showed up in a flashback in My Hero Academia Season 1. I have some of the manga panels and I also have some of his images from the episode. But here you go. It was Deku and Bakugo's childhood friend. As you can see, he's the one with the wings, right? So what's interesting here is what the author is ultimately insinuating when he puts that kid's face at the end of that corner. At this point, we know that the Nomus have various quirks inside of them, and at this point, with the introduction of All For One in the anime, we know that All For One can give people quirks and also mess them up in some weird ways, the example being the one guy that we saw catatonic in the introductory episode for All For One. He went catatonic when he had quirks inserted into him. So keep in mind that All For One is involved in the production of the Nomus, like without question. This becomes really, really dark, because the first thing that really comes out of here is that a child has gone missing in the My Hero Academia world. Now, you might be thinking that, well, this might not be enough evidence to say that this one kid has gotten lost, but the way that the author is premising it himself with singling out Izuku, he's implying that the Nomu went after Izuku specifically because there was a rationale, and it wasn't just simply Shigaraki giving a command. Because again, like even that, Shigaraki was far away from the situation to be able to give an adequate command. With the evidence from the author, it does really suggest that there was familiarity with the Nomu. And again, it gets really dark when you consider that. So, given all the evidence that we have here and the author's premising of it, we can only assume All For One got this kid. Now, whether or not the kid went on to become the Nomu, or whether or not the kid was released after his quirk was taken, that's really up in the air. The next question is like, what were the odds that All For One would target someone from Izuku's childhood? That's pretty odd. Like, of all the people in the world, of all the people in Japan, it had to be one of their childhood friends? And this being the rationale for why the winged Nomu might have carried off Izuku, coming from the author? Like, what is his game at this, right? Anyway, so let's start guessing at the implications of this kid being involved with the creation of the winged Nomu, assuming the angle that the author provided is true. First, the proximity to Izuku. Was this serendipitous, or might this imply that All For One has sort of been keeping an eye on Izuku since a long time ago? All For One has taken a lot of quirks in his lifetime, as we are told in the episode featuring him. He has a super regeneration quirk, and a quirk that most likely stopped his aging. When you factor in the known quirks that the first Nomu had as well, him having any quirk really is possible. What if he had some sort of precognition quirk that was enough to tell him Izuku would be a person of interest in the future? Now this is probably the most unlikely case, because then it would mean that All For One would be monitoring Izuku without making any big moves, just kind of keeping tabs on Izuku instead. Maybe even marking his friends for potential kidnaps. Again, you know, it's like, this one seems very unlikely and it seems very creepy. I don't want to think that this one's true. So I'll err on the side of caution and say, yeah, unfortunately the winged Nomu being related to someone in Izuku's past was probably just an unlucky circumstance. The next question now is, how do we explain the memory component? When you look at that scene, we see that the Nomu was hurt. What if it went after Izuku because it instinctively knew him as someone who could help? If the Nomu's base is the kid from the flashback, then this is really sad. That was probably the last bit of individuality that was left inside of that Nomu. But if this kid wasn't the base and instead only had his quirk taken for the production of the Nomu, then the implication is that some degree of memory is passed on along with the quirk. And this would make sense if we consider that One For All also has a memory component. Since the quirks are set up to be counterparts of each other, assuming that both of them have a memory component wouldn't be too hasty. I mean, I think you could make a good argument for that if you pulled out the parallels between the two quirks. But yeah, truthfully, I hope it to be the second scenario and that this kid was only a component of the Nomu, a kid who had his quirk taken instead of being forced into turning into that. But now we have to ask the question, we haven't seen him present time, but we've seen the other kid that Izuku and Bakugo hung out with as kids when they were in middle school. So, did this kid go missing? Are we one day gonna get a storyline that'll mention that Izuku and Bakugo once had a friend who disappeared? I think it's likely, because the author gave us such a nice hint right there. But it'll probably be a really sad time. It'll probably be a ways away. Like, most likely the author put that little note there because he wants us to know to keep our eyes open for it, but it may not be coming for a very long time in the My Hero Academia storyline. So to sum it up, there was a Nomu, the author associated it with a child from a flashback, and now we're just kind of waiting to see what comes of that foreshadowing. But most likely it's going to be a really bad time. Guys, what do you think? Do you think this is like a good little bit of information and just kind of makes you wonder about what actually happened to that kid? Or do you think that the author is just giving us a weird kind of roundabout hint and it may not ultimately involve the child? Let me know down below. And yeah, guys, let's end it there. Thanks for watching. Till next time, I hope you have a great day. A greater day than that winged kid is having. Heh.